It's my pleasure to introduce to you today Mark Keynes and Mark Townsend. We have two speakers today. They say it's a dog and pony show. Mark Keynes retired as a major after 27 years in the army. As an infantry soldier, you would have read his bio in the bulletin, so I won't repeat it all. Mark and Mark are going to be talking about a unique project called Trojans Trek, which assists our modern vets coming back from deployment from current warfare, but also post-Vietnam, to come to terms with the warrior inside them. I've just spent 4 months at the repatriation down there, and I know there are vets coming back from the Middle East who are spending considerable time in a specific ward down there with PTSD, post-traumatic stress. And so this program that the two Marks are going to talk about today is very pertinent, and I hope that you enjoy their presentation. Please welcome them to the podium.
So if we could just go straight into the video, please.
He would become very quiet and stop communicating with his friends and ignore phone calls and didn't even talk to me a lot. Sometimes he was meant to be by himself, and then he'd start drinking and keep drinking.
Military-induced stress is something that everyone is aware of, but currently there are only two approaches primarily used, and that is one-on-one counselling and pharmacology. We believe that the group concept, added to the isolation of what we do, is a huge advantage. The culture-specific nature of what we do adds a great deal of authority to the advice we give. It's the largest consulting room in the biggest office in the world.
Living out here allows you to use the environment as a therapeutic as well as a recreational setting, doing things that you normally don't have the opportunity to do at home. The benefits of Trojans Trek is largely the fact that you're out in the bush without distraction.
Yeah, well, what I see when these younger fellas come to the bush is pretty much what I saw when Vietnam veterans used to come there.
From day one, when we first drove in here and on the bus together, you're all a bit anxious. They're wary of the people you're about to meet.
I actually see myself. I see some of them got problems with alcohol.
Trojans Trek also allowed me to dry out, as I had very stupidly turned to Johnny Walker for solace.
And certainly they've all suffered or are suffering from a high level of anger.
I came to Trojan Trek very angry, no answers, angry with the world, with other people.
Certainly they've got problems with relationships, like I had.
Break up with misses. We've got one of my kids too. That's probably another big load.
And I said, well, I'm only going to tell them what it was like for me, what happened, what changed the plan of my life, and what it's like today. And basically, that's what they want to hear, apparently, because they're telling me that they can identify with that.
One guy said to me, he said, you know, I couldn't get to sleep. He said, but for a change, it was a positive thing.
It's not about where you end up at the end of Trojans Trek, because that's only the beginning of the journey. Because when they come, they don't understand that you can make choices, you can change your life.
Can you see his face?
Our job is to plant seeds If they fall on dead ground and don't grow, then that was out of our circle of influence. But some I know take a long time to germinate. Some germinate immediately after Trojans Trek.
One of the major differences which we find between Trojans Trek and other forms of treatment is the culture-specific nature of what we do. And by that I mean veteran to veteran help. We've found from the participants that they find that advice from other veterans who have experienced the same frustrations carries a great deal more weight than advice from other people.
For individuals that have been involved in traumatic events, or at least in events that other people believe are traumatic, talking to peers, having culture-specific support, talking to people who understand the situation, the context of that situation, is extremely important. There are not many programs that do that. Trojans Trek is a good example of a situation where people can talk to their mates, be involved in conversations with people that truly understand the import of the events, the way in which they might affect you, and get some support.
Another of the very important parts of the trek, and which results from going bush with a number of other individuals with like minds, is that peer support is developed. Now, this is not a new concept at all, but again we have found that the support which the group forms from amongst themselves during the 6 days is just outstanding.
We know that programs that move directly to healthcare counselling and that take people that have been through a traumatic event into the health system, into some kind of medical intervention where they're expected to talk about the situation with someone who's not been there, can be counterproductive. We know that because, for 2 reasons. One is that people sometimes feel that the condition is medicalised, that they must be unwell because they're having to talk to a counsellor. And secondly, because it's very difficult to talk to someone who wasn't there about something that might have affected you so significantly. So again, Trojans Trek allows that to happen in a situation that's open, it's with your mates, it's friendly, and you can talk about anything.
Closed-room counselling sessions were nowhere near as effective as the approach that were being adopted by those facilitating Trojans Trek. I felt that counselling sessions were clinical. Trojans Trek was personal. The weak-awaiting veterans in the same situation, or those who had already travelled the same path, has now provided me with that insight.
Trojans Trek is a circuit breaker which provides individuals the opportunity to reassess the way in which they deal with other people.
How to relate to one another as human beings. It's to do with communication, to do with conflict resolution, it's to do with handling difficult people in difficult situations. It's to do with how to act professionally and be assertive without necessarily resorting to aggression.
When these young men are in active service in extremely stressful situations and they are taught to react spontaneously with set rules of engagement and under a chain of command, we have initiated them to be different to what they would have been had they been a civilian. They've gone through a process that I think is a bit like a rites of passage. They've been initiated and enculturated to behave and think in a particular way. And sometimes they see things that we couldn't comprehend. Sometimes they are in circumstances where they are asked to do things that is against possibly their chosen values. And so sometimes they become disassociated from themselves. Sometimes it's been expressed by several. They have a sense of a loss of innocence. What I think we're doing, historically, when we ask people to be warriors and we initiate them to be warriors, we ask them to become something entirely different.
So although Trojans Trek brings these men and women highly motivated to change their circumstances, highly motivated to use the tools which we've given them. It is always very useful to re-anchor those values in their life. Now, to do that, we encourage them to access existing services through DVA, and we find that is a very, very important part of the track. So the earlier we can identify these young men and assist them when they get back from combat duties, the better. The outcome for them and their families is immense.
From the moment David arrived back from the track, from Trojans Trek, his whole attitude had changed. It was as though he wanted to be allowed to be part of everyday life now. He changed from very, very bad mood swings. He left the family walking on eggshells to us being able to talk about issues.
Trojans Trek for our family was probably the catalyst of rebuilding our family. I know people are saying that it's hard for the families left behind. I'll tell you, it's bloody hard for the ones that have gone away.
When he came back, he quite changed. He was able to express himself a bit more than he previously had. He seemed a lot calmer and very anxious to put into motion all the little steps that he'd learned on Trojans Trek. It was almost like he was released from his inner self to a point.
Two very important things I learned whilst out there in the Flinders Ranges and stuck with me through the very darkest of times since I attended Trojans Trek. One, I'm not alone. And two, I'm not a victim. I'm a gentle warrior and I will keep on fighting. And I try not to talk about normal or better, but just different. And so I'd like to tell you at that time, when I'm in that place, how Trojans Trek helped me get there.
A lot of tools have been thrown around in the last few days, tools that now it's up to me to take away. And from here, I realise it is in my power to change things. I have apologies to make, I have a new start to make, and without the people involved here, I would not be able to move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Townsend. I served 25 years in the Royal Australian Air Force. I'm a veteran of the war in Iraq, and as a result of that deployment, I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I attended Trojans Trek in 2009. And after attending that trek, I came to the conclusion that as a result of my service and subsequent illness, I had slowly adopted a victim mentality. And I was so wrapped up in my own self-doubt, pity, fear and anger that I had effectively shut myself off from those around me. I was well aware that I had issues and problems that needed addressing, but now I realise, with hindsight, I was just waiting for help. The Trojans Trek made me realise that the person who could provide me with the most help was myself. Assistance and support was and still is available, but no progress could be made until I came to the realisation that I first needed to understand why I feel like I do, and that the selfish methods that I was utilising to deal with those feelings were not in my best interests, both from a physical and a psychological perspective. I felt alone. I now understand that that was ludicrous. I am of the opinion that the remote location and the fact that all that were involved in were with Trojans Trek were returned servicemen who had walked the walk, and that contributed significantly to the effectiveness of the program. I felt that I could open up and talk to anyone around me without being judged, pitied, or provided no more than lip service. I understand now how ridiculous it was that I felt that I could not do this at home with those who love and support me. That the weak away with veterans in the same situation, or those who had already travelled the same path, now has provided me with that insight. As I stated in the DVD, it also allowed me to dry out, as I had very stupidly turned to alcohol for solace. A very bad choice, which only resulted in me becoming essentially an alcoholic. The dry week away from the booze provided me with a clear head, which allowed me to rationally begin to address my thoughts and feelings. And this, coupled with the calm surroundings, far away and totally removed from the pressures of life, assisted me, at least in this process, immensely. The Trojans Trek program, in my opinion, is a very effective tool in shifting perspective and allowing returned servicemen to reboot their head and really assist them in commencing the path to becoming well again. As a result of my experience, I am now involved in the Trojans Trek program as best as I can cope. I've gained a great deal of satisfaction from assisting those who may have to unfortunately travel the same path that I have. My continued involvement has also provided me with a reminder that my own past lifestyle and attitude was no more than self-destructive. As stated, the program is an adjunct to treatment that is currently available that is hopefully being utilised by those who require it. Trojans Trek is no silver bullet. I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm still far from being well. I admit there have been setbacks and some very deep troughs since I've completed the program. I still have a long journey ahead of me, and I'm still coming to terms with the fact that many elements of my condition will be with me for the rest of my life. I stumbled across a passage from the teachings of Buddha that I believe encapsulate the overall intent of Trojans Trek very well. The thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into character. So watch the thought and its ways with care, as the shadow follows the body, as we think, so we become. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, my name is Mark Keynes, and I'd just like to give you a bit of a snapshot of some of the circumstances around Trojans Trek. Vietnam produced 47,100 veterans. And those are figures from DVA. It's a bad technique turning around all the time, but I don't have the screen in front of me and my eyes aren't good enough to see that one all the way. But anyway, I'll soldier on. Post-1999 operations have so far produced 45,000 younger veterans. And I guess I'm kind of one of those younger veterans. I turn 50 next month. But we've got people getting around now who are 18 years of age who are veterans. Interestingly, a lot of those who are still serving don't consider themselves to be veterans, even though they may have deployed, in some cases, 4 or 5 times to places like East Timor, Somalia, Afghanistan and Iraq. veterans have deployed multiple times, as mentioned. The emerging trend, as we know, is stress illness, characterised with disassociation. I've been out just under 2 years, and while I'm doing remarkably well, I think, there is something about the disassociation. It results in dysfunctional families, maladjusted children and concerned partners, and I've seen that in a number of others. Self-medication, of course, is a big problem, particularly with alcohol, and I think most of us, well, you've heard the story, of Granddad, well, his experience in World War I and World War II, never talked about it much, but by gee, he could drink. And, there's a good part of several generations that basically drunk themselves to the grave because, we didn't recognise what was wrong and what needed to be done. And self-harm and other anti-societal behaviour. And unfortunately, I lost a couple of mates through to self-harm who struggled to cope when they came back. The cost of treatment at Ward 17, which is part of the repat, for a single admission is between $7,500 to $8,000. And the cost for one participant on Trojans Trek is, it'll come up a little bit later. Towards the end of the next slide. Some of our challenges are lack of understanding about the program, such as the value of the program, the value of mentor and peer advice and support. As Moose mentioned on the tape, the two well-established methods are pharmacology, i.e. take your meds, and go and chat to your psych, as a psychologist or psychiatrist. And of course they're well established and we're not for a moment trying to replace that. They're there for a good reason. But when a bunch of veterans form their own group and try and offer some sort of support, it's a little bit hard for some people to understand that there may actually be some benefit in that. Mind you, while we're in the service, we're always saying, we have to leave that soldiers fight by themselves, they're always put as minimum in pairs, and welfare is all about their interpersonal relationships and so on. And when we're out there struggling, the established order seems to want to remove all that peer support. We just want to re-establish it or reaffirm it. And of course, we're always looking for dollars, just like everybody else. The current support comes from DVA, the South Australian Government, through Flinders, the RSL, and the Door Park Foundation, or Foundation Door Park, sorry. I'm soon to be the repat foundation. I'll do my best impersonation of 3 push-ups later on. Now, here it comes. Trojans Trek, one veteran, costs between $1,660 to $1,800. Now, I'm not saying that's in lieu of treatment at the foundation, but it's an adjunct too. And of course, the overheads for us are airfares, accommodation, vehicle hire, food and staff. And Mobile Station, which we use, are very kind and generous, but they can't do it for free, so we have to pay for the hire of the shoes, waters and so on up there. In conclusion, I'd emphasise that Trojans Trek is an adjunct to established methods of treatment. Please don't think that we're trying to take anything away from the established order. We're not. We're trying to offer something as well. So $7,500 to $8,000 and or it'd be nice if someone can come on Trojans Trek for a lot less money and get enough inspiration or the tools that they need, but they don't have to then later on rely on Ward 17, the services of a psychiatrist or psychologist and go on medication. It really is about friends and support. And the next trek is 16 to 21 September this year, and that's our website. Thank you.
I have time for 1 or 2 questions, if there are any. I've got one. Do many women go up there?
That's a good question, and unfortunately I can't answer that with great authority, but I believe that we haven't taken any women on the trek yet. But I dare say at some stage in the future we'll need to.
participants on each course?
There's about 10.
10 to 12 is the max, course max.
Sandra?
Just a quick question. Has any other state looked at taking this up as well? It looks very South Australian based, so have you looked at spreading it elsewhere?
Moose is trying to promote it in other states, but they're still very in the early stages. The answer is no, not yet.
Thank you, Mark. Sorry, Steve.
I just thought it might be worth mentioning that Moose Dunlop was one of the founders of Operation Flinders, so there's a very strong connection, and the outcomes and the methodology, if you like, have a lot in common. But Moose is one of the key factors, and Bob Carney. They are two absolutely exceptional people, and all I can say is Trojans Trek is in great hands with those guys in charge.
Yes. Operation Flinders is one of the charities.
Yes, I was reading that.
Yeah. I don't think I need to add any more except to thank both Mark Keynes and Mark Townsend for coming today. I found it, although I knew quite a bit about Trojans Trek, I still found lots to learn today, and I think it's such a valuable program that needs to